From earliest times, the Hawaiian people understood that there was a balance to be maintained between themselves and their natural environment. In order to live and prosper in an island community, it was necessary to malama aina, respect and care for the land. In 1778, when Captain Cook found Hawaii's shores, its almost 1 million inhabitants, very close to the population of Hawaii today, were practicing near 100% sustainability. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the picture is markedly different. Pretty much everything that makes modern Hawaii hum comes from somewhere else. Spark plugs to spam, it all arrives by ship or airplane. Worse still, it takes $4 billion a year in imported oil to fill our cars and fuel our power grid. In reality, no other state in the Union is as dependent on oil as Hawaii, making paradise uncomfortably vulnerable to the economic, political, and environmental foibles of the rest of the world. The only way to create energy security and break our fossil fuel habit was to begin developing clean, dependable alternative resources right here at home. In 2008, Hawaii began the task in earnest. The Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative is a first-of-its-kind partnership between the U.S. Department of Energy and the state of Hawaii. It mandated that by 2030, a full 70% of the state's energy needs would come from clean sources, 40% from renewables, and 30% from conservation. In short, there was now a binding legal commitment to get off oil. Fortunately, with limitless sun, wind, ocean, and geothermal resources, Hawaii is perfectly equipped to do just that. Where to begin? An obvious first step: green up the biggest polluter and the most essential service, electricity production. For Hawaiian Electric Company, the challenge was monumental.
What happened for us as a community, but also as a company in 2008, is that the challenges of very expensive oil and the challenge that would make for our economy caused us all to really look at what the future was for us as an economy, as a company. You know, we're a private sector company. You know, we have shareholders. We have to function as a, you know, stock market traded corporation with all the responsibilities that includes. And yet we have to repurpose ourselves, reposition ourselves to be one of the leaders of getting Hawaii off of oil, to use our market power and our market influence to lead us away from the use of fossil fuel, both petroleum and coal, and to find ways to use locally produced renewables. You know, clearly the easiest one is solar. You know, we've got PV photovoltaics on rooftops of homes and businesses all over the community, and the statistics say we're the third best in the nation last year at doing it. The technology is clearly here for wind, and Hawaii's got world-class wind resources. Wind developers that come to Hawaii and look at our resources are thrilled to be here. So we've got 4 wind farms now up and running. We're going to do a lot more burning of trash for energy. The city has increased by half again the capacity of the big waste burner on the island. And we're looking at agriculture coming back, not this time to produce sugar cane or pineapple, but to produce biofuel. You know, it's one of those good news, bad news things. The bad news is we're on this liquid fuel called petroleum. The good news is liquid fuels can be replaced by other liquid fuels, and we can grow our own liquid fuels here on the island. We actually have a 110 megawatt power plant that runs 100% on biofuels right now. As far as we know, it's the only one in the country that runs 100% on biofuels. We're doing our best to support those who want to come to Hawaii and look at how the ocean can provide power. And if we can find a way to harness that power, then between geothermal and wind and sun and things we can grow in the ground and the ocean, Hawaii really has the capacity to substantially get off oil for electricity.
Step 2, and equally difficult, tackle ground transportation. Fact is, Hawaii loves its 1.2 million cars and replaces between 70,000 and 120,000 of them each year. Yet most see no more than a few dozen miles a day. Enter Better Place, a company with a mission to wean the world off its oil addiction and turn every one of us into electric car drivers. Armed with regulatory assistance from state government, a memorandum of understanding from Hawaiian Electric, partnership with Kyoya Hotels, and U.S. Department of Energy funding, Better Place is on its way to repeating the success it created in Europe and the Middle East, right here in Hawaii.
We're launching the testing phases now in Hawaii. We started that process in Israel and Denmark 2.5, 3 years ago. And now, at the end of this year, they will be available for regular consumers to come into dealerships and buy. So as part of the infrastructure, we have brought 7 Chevy Volts, and 2 of those Chevy Volts will be used as VIP shuttles by Kyoya Sheraton for hotel guests, and the other 5 will be used by Hawaii Electric Company to do testing and validate the entire network. For the first infrastructure of charging stations, we will have 10 charging spots. 5 will be right here at the Sheraton Waikiki, and the other 5 will be at HECO's locations, at Hawaii Electric Company's location across Oahu.
The company's approach can create a real paradigm shift. How it works is simple and brilliant. Transpose the familiar customer-friendly cell phone business model to the electric vehicle service industry. Customers buy an electric vehicle from any number of dealers, just as they would any other car. But now, instead of filling up with gas, they plug in and charge up at home, at the office, on the go. Basically, anytime and any place they need to. They pay for the power through a subscription plan, the same as they would for their mobile phone. Drive a lot, pay a little more. Drive less, pay less. Here's the clincher. Those pricey lithium-ion batteries that put electric car ownership on the maybe someday list for many consumers are no longer a consideration.
In the Better Place model, you purchase the car, Better Place owns the battery, so you don't pay up front for the battery. Think of it as storing 7, 8 years worth of gasoline in one element of the car. You don't buy a car and say, I need 8 years of gasoline. You buy a car and then you go week by week to the gas station. And because Better Place owns the battery from the first place, the upfront cost of that vehicle goes down by as much as 1/3 of the initial price of the vehicle, which makes it competitive with your gasoline vehicle.
So if owning and operating an electric vehicle now costs the same as a gas model, the only real stumbling block seems to be that old bugaboo, distance and horsepower. Well, Better Place figured that one out too. If you're driving a long distance and don't have time to stop, plug in and recharge, pull into an automated battery exchange station instead. Here at no additional cost, your depleted battery will be swapped for a fresh one in less time than it would take to fill your tank with gas.
The biggest misperception about electric cars is the fact that you have to compromise, that they're slower, that they're somewhat limited. And with electric cars and the Better Place model, there really is no compromise, not on range, not on the price, and not, of course, on the power of these vehicles.
And this is just the beginning of Hawaii's journey to sustainability. These islands are quickly morphing into one of the world's leading incubators of all forms of alternative energy. In 2011, investment in biofuels, solar, geothermal, wind, ocean energy, and electric vehicle technology will reach $1.2 billion, bringing with it thousands of green jobs, clean tech opportunities, and startup companies. For the 50 state, sustainability is off the drawing boards and well on its way to becoming reality.
Hawaii can actually do this, and it's too bad we're on petroleum because it's a high-priced commodity, but it's actually providing us the impetus to figure out how to change. And so, as a gift to our children and grandchildren, if we use the force of expensive petroleum to have us fundamentally change the way we live and use resources around us, we'll look back on it and go, hated it, but it got us to do the right thing. And in the end, that's the most important thing. Can we change as a society the way we work with energy? And we can.